Hello, geometry students. We are moving on to learning target 4. This is Ms. Sozier.
And this is Ms. Poirier.
And here we go. So, midpoint formula. Now, for both of these formulas, you just need to, on the top part of your sheet, write what the formula is, but we're, of course, going to talk you through where they come from. So, a midpoint formula, when you're given two random points, this is on your sheet, this is just an example, you're trying to find the middle of them. Any 2 points are referred to as like x1, y1, x2, y2, x a million, y a million, etc., etc., etc. To find the middle, you're really just looking for the middle of the horizontal distance and the middle of the vertical distance. So if you were to go through the example that I have on here, graphically, you're just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, I'm not using a pen. I'm about to use a pen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I just went 3 in the middle. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that way. And I went 3 in the middle. However, formulaically, sure, that's a word. Let's go for it.
Yes. So for the formula, we have it, and it's in point form. So you have x1 plus x2 all divided by 2, comma, x1 plus y2 all divided by 2 as well. It is written as an ordered pair. So that's how you should be writing it the whole entire time, and it should come out as an ordered pair. You shouldn't have x's all in one parenthesis, y in one in parentheses. It should be all in one big one.
With a comma in between. Absolutely. I like to just say add your x's divide by 2, add your y's divide by 2. It's just like has a ring to it, but that's your formula. So to find the midpoint without the formula, you're just again going to go from your 2 points. So this is on yours number 1 example. You're going to count up and over just like you were doing slope. And then you're going to count halfway. So vertically, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that line that I drew halfway is at 4. Horizontally, that's a distance of 2. So again, if I cut that in half, that's 1. And you see how they cross at the point 4, 2. So that's how to find the midpoint without the formula.
The reason why we're showing you a way without the formula, because unfortunately this formula is not on the reference table when you take the Regents. So if you do not remember the formula, the way Ms. Oster just showed you is a way that you can also remember. But the formula way, you take your x's, which was 3 and 5, you do 3 plus 5, divide by 2. That's your x's. Comma, here's your y's. We have -2 plus 6 divide by 2. And again, it's all in big parentheses separated by a comma. So you can type this all in the calculator, one side each. You're going to get 4, and then you're going to type in that -2 plus 6, all divided by 2, and you're going to get 2 there.
The nice thing about the midpoint formula is that it has addition. So because of the commutative property, it doesn't matter which order you put your x's and your y's in. But your x's must go together, and your y's must go together. Moving on to the distance formula. Now again, I'm going to show a bunch of stuff, but at the end is where you have to put in your notes what the distance formula is. So distance is looking for how long something is. If I have a horizontal or a vertical line like I just put on the screen, I can just count those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, however many. When it's diagonal, like the segment given, I can't count diagonally. That's not a thing. So I create a right triangle. The reason I create a right triangle is because I can count horizontally and I can count vertically. This hopefully is reminding you of a theorem called the Pythagorean theorem that you learned before. That actually, Pythagorean theorem is on your reference sheet, but you have to know how to manipulate it like we're about to show you. So my C is the hypotenuse, which is the length of what it is that we're actually looking for. The formula comes from knowing that horizontal distance, so your value here at X is what, like 4, your value here is 8 or whatever, so 8 minus 4 is how you get the 1, 2, 3, 4, or however long it is. So it's x2 minus x1, it's that change in x from your slope formula, squared, plus the change in y, again, your rise, it's all coming from slope, squared equals c squared. And then when you try to solve for that, you have to take the square root of both sides, which then gives you your distance formula. So the formula that you write down on your notes is d equals the big square root of quantity x2 minus x1 squared plus quantity y2 minus y1 squared. Understanding that it comes from the Pythagorean theorem is very helpful, as shown here. So again, I'm looking for the distance, I plot my points, I connect them, and then I'm just going to use Pythagorean theorem method to do this. So I'm going to count up and down, and I'm going to count left and right. I make a right triangle. So I have a distance of 4 up and down, a distance of 2 left and right. So if I just pop that into a squared plus b squared equals c squared, I have 20 equals c squared, and then I have the square root of 20. With the formula, it's going to be a little bit different.
Yes. And again, Ms. Osher just showed you that way just because, again, this formula is not on our reference table when taking the regents. So this is the formula way of how to do it. So writing down the formula again, we got d equals the big square root, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So now you're going to take your points and plug them in accordingly. If you need to write over your points x1, y1, and x2, y2. If you need to do that for yourself, go right ahead and do that so it's easier for you to see. So you're going to take those numbers, plug them into your formula, and make sure you have your parentheses in place of where they need to go, because if you do not, it's going to come out totally different in the calculator. So we'll put that all nicely into the calculator without the square root. This is just us breaking it down more, and you're going to get d equals negative 20 like we did here. But remember last week when we did simplifying radicals, that that square root of 20 should be 2 square root 5 in the end when you simplify it.